Well, Mark, we're feeling good about the Seahawks. They won their fourth game in a row, and this was the first time that in 3 weeks anyway that the story wasn't the defense. It was, I mean, they played well, and they certainly had some really good moments, but the offense showed up. The running game showed up, and again, I don't know how much you had a chance to see it, but the O-line actually played well. No sacks of Geno. It was the lowest pressure game of in terms of pressures he received in this game, lowest of the season. If you had a chance to see it, what did you see out there that looked different to you?
Yeah, no, I watched. Obviously, Charbonnet played, and I thought he did. I thought he did a good job, and it was a close game until he broke that one 50 some odd yards or whatever it was. It's really interesting. You just watch enough football, and you watch enough offensive line play and kind of what they're doing, and there's so many little nuanced, like, nitpick things that drive me crazy when I watch. And he did a good job of breaking some things. They did a much better job of blocking the line of scrimmage first. And I went back and dug through some plays, but there's so many times where like, I always felt like this, like Dave's playing linebacker, I'm playing offensive line. At some point, Dave's got to trigger and make a decision. Am I going to run over the top of this double team? Am I going to run underneath it? What am I going to do? And my thought process as a player was always, I'm going to block the line of scrimmage first. I'm never in a hurry to get where eventually I'm going to be. And that's good advice in life. Don't be in a hurry to get where you're eventually going to be. Eventually, I'm going to block Dave. But I'm going to make him make the decision. And then my back better be good enough to make him wrong. And I saw a lot of that, especially with the inside players of the Seahawks, guard, center, guard, that is, that's where it needs to dramatically improve. And it improved some in that game, to be sure, but there were still a lot of things that I would look at and be critical of because, I just watch it with a different eye than most.
What do you think about, there were some people saying, well, it wasn't about Charbonnet, and I'm not sure if you've been a fan of his or not, but I have. I think he's got great feet. I think he's very patient, and he lets those plays develop really nicely. But, yeah, I thought it was kind of interesting, Mark, because they haven't really been able to move people. I think maybe Arizona's defensive front and how aggressive they were kind of set up some of those angles that they got blocks on. But I thought it was well done by Ryan Grubb, and just going to that scheme, and then especially the way Charbonnet runs behind it.
Yeah, you know what? I really enjoyed, like you said, setting things up. The other thing is when you stay on your tracks and you get a defense like the Arizona Cardinals, and I've done enough Arizona games to know they're not they play exceptionally hard, but they're not the most talented group. And so what they have to do is they've got to stunt, they've got to pinch, and they got to do some things up front to get on edges, right? And to get penetration, get on edges, get in the backfield and stop the running game before it happens. But if you can maintain those blocks and stay on them, the thing about guys that pinch and that run stunt is that it takes just a flick of the fingers to get you to move, 2 feet off your point. So if you're crisscrossing or whatever, or you're really pinching hard, and I can just get a shove on you, I can take you a gap out of your gap assignment, a gap and a half out of your gap assignment without much effort, because I'm using your own momentum against you. And so if you're really good on your tracks and you understand that aspect of the game, that's where it becomes gaping holes. And so it's a really hard system to play consistently that way. But that's how Arizona's had to play, because they don't have the firepower up front to just defend you, to stop people. They don't have Leonard Williams on their side. They don't have a dude that can two-gap you and just shove you out of the way and make a tackle.
Hey, Mark, we were talking about this to open the show in reference to the O-line, that LeMaya, they put in there at right guard, the rookie, who was deemed kind of a project, but's played really well. And this will be the third week in a row that they've actually played with the same starting five. But just talking about the idea, the old adage of, well, you shouldn't lose your starting spot to injury. And is that just an antiquated way of thinking, or has that always been something that applies to a starter who may not be a superstar. And when you're talking about, maybe if Geno went down and Sam Howell came in and played really well, you're not going to say, well, now Sam Howell's the starter. But how do you view that? Is that just old school thinking?
No, I just think it's dumb. So, I mean, I just think it's like if the guy who replaces you plays better than you, you know what you don't get? Your job back.
So regardless of position then?
Yeah, it has nothing to do with old school. It's not like, I always laugh at these millennial turds that be like, oh, the game has passed you by. Dude, I took a dump that knows more about football than you do. Stop. The game has passed me by. All I do is watch film. Just stop.
Okay, I think that answers that question.
I love it.
Hey, Mark, before we let you go, you're coming up on a pretty tough stretch of games here. I mean, Green Bay, Minnesota, you got Chicago in there, and then the Rams. But, Seahawks 4 in a row. I feel like they've fixed their defense. I feel like that part got fixed. I'm not ready to proclaim that they've fixed the running game, even though they got 176 yards the other day. But where do you think they stand right now? Facing Green Bay and Minnesota at home. They got to finish up in Los Angeles. What about this Seahawk team?
Yeah, I think that's the game that I keep my focus on. Obviously, Green Bay is going to be tough. You get to play them at home. I think Minnesota just keeps winning, but I think they're beatable. And that really, to me, that comes down to Sam Darnold's playing really good, but that comes down to how good are you against the blitz? How good are you at picking that stuff up? And if you can run the ball like you did against Arizona, that does a lot of similar stuff in the run game, you got a chance to be really good. You got a chance to break some things out and have some pop out type of plays. And Atlanta did that, not in the passing game, but in the running game the other day. So that's something that certainly exists for you. I think it really comes down. I think the Rams are capable of winning out, and I think it comes down to the Rams in Seattle in that last game. And if Seattle, beats them, they go, and if the Rams can beat Seattle, then they go. So I think it comes down to those two teams, and I'm really interested because I thought the Rams the other night looked great, and I thought the unselfishness, Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua, you just talking about legitimate big-time football players, not wide receivers, freaking football players. And I love watching those two play, the unselfishness with which they play. It was a ton of fun for me.
Mark, you're the man. We love you. Have a great rest of your week. We'll do it again next week.
I can't wait. Exciting.
See you, man.
Thanks, Mark.
Later.
There you go. Mark Schlereth with us each and every week.